Hey everyone, my name's Ty with Ty Made It, and today I'm going to show you how to install a whole house fan. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know I did a bunch of research on whole house fans and companies, and at the end of the day, I found Quite Cool was going to be the fan that I was going to install. They're made in the USA, they have a 15-year guarantee, and they have really great reviews. So after I was done doing my research, I reached out to them and see if they wanted to partner up, in which they did, which is great. They did supply this for free, but it would have been what I was going to install regardless. Now, this is going to help our house a lot because it's 2 stories, and our house gets really hot. Even if your house isn't 2-story, this would be beneficial for your home. But since our house is 2 stories, the heat rises and then the attic gets really hot as well. So what we'll do is we'll turn this on when it's cooler outside than it is upstairs, and it will pull fresh air in through the windows that we open up downstairs and upstairs and replace the hot attic heat with fresh, cool air. And that should help keep our house cooler and thus reduce electric bills and overall be beneficial for our home. So with that in mind, let's unbox it, take a look, see what's inside, and get to installing. So here's a quick little diagram that is on the side of their box. As you can see, the air flows in through doors and windows upstairs and then out through the fan through the attic. So you just open a few windows downstairs, turn on your Quite Cool fan, and adjust the speed. And there's also a timer, and then it pulls in fresh air and pushes out hot air. Okay, so inside the box here, you'll see there are instructions, which talk about air venting for the attic. We'll save those for later. And then next up is this grate that goes over the air register in the ceiling. It's very well made. And then next up, you'll see this is the actual unit. It's actually really slinky-like, and I'll show you more once we get that upstairs. So for now, let's work our way up there. So this actually makes me laugh a lot because I had a lot of practice getting our tub up the stairs as well, and I did it just like this. And the trick is to push from the bottom so that the other end doesn't get stuck on the stairs. And once you get all the way up to the top, it's time to just take a rest. Now it might look like I am directing an airplane on where it should land and the proper precautions you should take if you're trying to exit the airplane. But in reality, I'm trying to explain how the airflow is going to come up from downstairs, up through the attic, and then it is going to blow the air out of the house. This unit comes with a template, and in this case, it's 14¼ wide by 30¼ long. And I'm going to take this template up into the attic and use it to mark the corners. And I'm going to use an awl, which is like a metal poke thing, if you will, and shove that through the ceiling to find the holes as it comes through the underside. So I'm getting ready to go up into the attic, and I need to install some wiring to provide electrical to the whole house fan. Okay, so what you see here is I wired up a receptacle while I'm not in the attic. This will keep me from being up there and getting hot for too long. I've put in some 14 gauge Romex and cut it to length, leaving a little bit extra. I measured while I was downstairs, and in the attic I know where I have a junction box where I can tie all this in and where the old fan was already installed. And by old fan, there used to be an old gable end fan upstairs, which you'll see here in a little bit. So this is where the entrance to my attic is, and then once we're up there, this is basically what it looks like. So I've cleared a path to get over to the end of the house where the gable end is at. And what you'll see here is that there used to be a gable end fan installed here in this opening, and it used to connect an electrical into this junction box. So for now, I'm going to connect into this junction box and install my receptacle with the Romex wire that I cut downstairs and pull it over to where the new fan is going to get located, back towards where I came in that direction. Now while I'm up here, I'm also going to install a receptacle in this junction box, so when I install the new gable end fan, I can just plug it in at this location. So I'm not going to go into the details of how to do the electrical here, but basically after the electrical connection is made and the new receptacle is put in with the cover plate, that's what it looks like. I just kind of going through and making sure I have electricity at my receptacle for the gable end fan, which will get installed later, and then also in the receptacle that I created for the whole house fan. And that beep indicates that we have power. So this is the location where I'm going to cut the hole, and you'll see here in a second where the template that was downstairs is going to get placed. Now as you can see, I'm taking that awl and shoving it around the corners of the cardboard through the ceiling, and down below I'm lining the cardboard up with the holes that I poked all the way through the ceiling, taking my sheetrock knife and cutting out a rectangle to create the cavity for the air return to get installed into. So earlier when I had this box out front and I said it looks like a slinky, this is exactly what I mean. It literally comes out and looks like a giant slinky. It's pretty cool that all that gets stuffed into that box. And as you can see, I'm still practicing my high jump, but I still have a long ways to go if I'm going to win any competitions. Now in the bottom of the box, there are some more parts, mostly electrical parts that you'll need to wire up the fan. So make sure to get those out of the box. One of the things the instruction says to do is to plug it in and make sure that the fan spins freely. Oh yeah. Wow. That thing really blows. Oh, it feels so good. It's so hot in the attic. Oh. All right. So in our attic, we don't have enough room to move the whole unit as one piece up into the attic. The hole is just not big enough. And surprisingly, everything by Quiet Cool will fit through the hole that you cut in the ceiling. So you'll see coming up that we will be putting everything through that hole. Now, this part has different flanges, and depending on your spacing of your floor joists or studs or whatever you're connecting it to, they can be removed. And as you can see here, I'm taking the sides off because the spacing between my ceiling joists are 16-inch on center, and if you take the side flanges off, it'll fit perfectly between the two joists. Now it's time to move the slinky portion, aka the ducting, up into the attic. And as you can see, I put straps around it to hold it together because there's just no other way to get it up through that hole without compressing it. Now you can't see who this is in the video, but this is Ted, and Ted works with Quiet Cool, and he was nice enough to come out and show me how some of the electrical on the fan works. So what he's doing now is he's removing this existing electrical box off the side of the housing on the edge of the fan, and he's going to install the 3-speed receiver, which is this black box you see now, and that will communicate wirelessly to the controller, which you'll see coming up. Here's a little bit closer look at that black box that I was telling you about, and Ted is just finishing up the electrical here, connecting all the same colors. There are instructions that go along with this box depending on the model you have and the speeds that you're using. Everything gets wired up a little bit differently, so you have to pay attention to that. But once this box is closed up, we can move on to the next step. And one last thing before we move on to the next step is we want to make sure that it works. Okay, now we're finally at the next step, and that is to put the fan up in the attic. And as I mentioned earlier, Quiet Cool really put a lot of thought into how to install this if the only access is through the hole you need to install the unit. So it's pretty cool that that fan was able to come off and go directly through the same hole. And wouldn't you know it, the damper box also fits through the same hole. It's like they also planned for this too. Since the damper box is the last thing to go through into the attic, I'm now lowering it into place. And you can kind of see on the long ends of the damper box here why it was important to remove those flanges, because the sides are flush with the 2x6 floor joists that you can kind of see up here in the attic. Now I have to apologize in advance, but this is kind of where video for this project got difficult since it was extremely hot up here in the attic. But basically what we're doing is we're taking the ducting and putting it back on the damper box. So I did have to pull it out of that hole that I originally set it in, but we're wiggling that down on there and reconnecting it. Now you can't see much of this, but basically we're trying to figure out where to hang the whole house fan from. The fan comes with two metal straps that are attached to the outside of the housing, and we're going to hold that up and screw it to the 2x6 roof rafters. Now since I can't really show you because the camera is blocked, what I've shown here in the bottom left is an image of a Quiet Cool fan that is already installed. So what we're doing now is we're attaching the red portion, if you will, from this image to the rafters, and then we will follow up using that black strapping that you see over the middle of the ducting to hold the duct up, which in turn makes the fan as parallel to the roof as possible. So the next step is Ted is going through and screwing the damper box to the edge of the ceiling joist, and this makes sure to hold it nice and rigid and won't move during operation. He's also testing the dampers to make sure that they move freely, so when the fan is in operation they can open and close. And now he's sticking on the frame that the grate will snap into, which you'll see here in just a second. So this part that he just put in gets screwed to the ceiling joist, and then also where there aren't any ceiling joists, like on the short ends where he just touched, it gets screwed through the sheetrock into the black flange on the damper box. Those are the two ends that we left that flange on, and it kind of sandwiches the sheetrock between the two parts. And last but not least, this is the grate that goes inside, and it just snaps in. It's magnetic. If you ever need to take it out, it comes with a tool. It's like a little metal hook. You stick it through the grate and grab the backside and you can pull it right out. Okay, so now that the whole house fan is installed, I wanted to give you a visual so you can kind of see how much air it actually pulls in from the outside. So let me open up this sliding glass door about a foot. We'll put the curtain in front of it and turn it on high. And to do that, I just hit the bottom button here till it is on the H, and then hit the top one for how many hours I'd like. For now, I'm just going to do 1. And now for some dramatic scenes using fog. All right, everyone. I hope in those last scenes that you were able to really see how the smoke is removed from the house by turning on the whole house fan. It's just kind of another visual that I thought added some value to really get a good understanding of how effective it is at bringing in cool air from the outside. Over this last summer, we've been using the whole house fan, and we've noticed a huge difference in how long our air conditioner turns on during the day. Running the whole house fan at night, bringing in the cool air from the outside, cooling down the attic has really reduced the amount of hours that we spend cooling the house. The next day, when it starts to warm up and the attic is a lot cooler than it was prior to installing a whole house fan, it allows the attic a lot more time to heat up before the AC needs to turn on. So we have noticed a huge difference in that. And if you've gained value out of this video and you think I've earned your subscription, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button below and hit that notification bell. It'll let you know when I put out new videos. And in the future, I'm going to be making more videos, anywhere from art to furniture to DIY stuff around the house. I kind of do a little bit of everything, and hopefully some of you can find value in things that I'm doing. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.